Think ghosting someone is brutal? In 1327, Sir Roger Mortimer got dragged through London behind a horse, half conscious, pelted with rotting vegetables before being hanged until almost dead, then having his insides pulled out while he watched. His crime? Sleeping with the Queen. And that wasn't even the worst punishment we're going to talk about today. Inside medieval castle walls, betrayal was an existential threat that demanded a response so horrifying that no one would ever consider treachery again. The punishments weren't designed to be quick, they were designed to be remembered. Before we descend into this nightmare, smash that like button if you believe history is the raw truth of what humans are capable of when power and paranoia collide. Subscribe because we're not sanitizing the past. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now, let's descend into the medieval world where betrayal didn't just cost you your life, it cost you your humanity. The traitor's wife buried alive in the castle walls. When Lady Rohise de Clare was accused of conspiring against her husband in 1295, she faced immurement. Imagine this. You're led into the castle depths, past the Great Hall, past the chapel. The guards stop at a partially dismantled wall, revealing a cavity barely large enough for your body. They shove you inside, standing room only. No sitting, no lying down. And then the masons arrive. Stone by stone, they wall you in. You scream, but the mortar muffles everything. They leave a small opening for bread and water every few days. Not mercy, but to make you die slowly. The average person lasted about a week, going mad from absolute darkness and inability to move. The Chronicle of Lanarcost recorded women scratching at stones for days, fingernails worn to bloody stumps. Before the scratching stopped, some castles still have human remains in their walls, discovered during renovations, just skeletons standing upright, frozen in their final moments. Medieval lords called it a merciful alternative to burning, because at least you died in the shade. The unfaithful lord, the scavenger's daughter. When William de Morisco plotted to assassinate King Henry III in 1242, he probably thought nobility would buy him a clean death. He thought wrong. They introduced William to the scavenger's daughter, the opposite of a medieval rack. Instead of stretching you apart, this device compressed you. They forced your body into a kneeling position, clamped iron bars around your wrists, ankles, and neck, then tightened it slowly. Your knees drive into your chest, your spine curves until vertebrae grind, your ribcage compresses until breathing becomes impossible. The pressure builds so intensely that blood forces out of your nose, ears, even your pores, like you're being squeezed like a human juice box. Raphael Holinshed recorded men lasting hours to days. Some victims' ribs fractured inward, puncturing their lungs. Others went blind from pressure. William lasted 6 hours before they dragged him to execution anyway. Medieval justice was, why kill you quickly when we can kill you interestingly? The cuckolded knight, the breast ripper. When a woman was accused of adultery, particularly if she betrayed a knight or nobleman, there was a specialized device called the breast ripper. This was 4 metal claws, often heated red-hot, designed to do exactly what the name suggests. They'd clamp onto the accused woman's chest and tear away tissue and muscle. If she was lucky, she'd pass out quickly from shock. If not, she'd remain conscious through the entire mutilation while the court watched. In 1417, Agnes de Landskrona faced this after betraying her husband with a stable hand. Records from Nuremberg Castle describe how the heated device was used. The smell of burning flesh and blood was so overwhelming that witnesses vomited. Agnes survived initially, only to die 3 days later from infection and shock. Sometimes this was just the beginning. A woman who survived might then be branded on the forehead, marking her as an adulteress for life. The medieval logic: a woman's body belonged to her husband. Betrayal meant that body needed to be destroyed as a warning. It's thinking that makes you grateful restraining orders exist instead. The poisoning plot, boiled alive. In 1531, Margaret Davy was accused of attempting to poison the Bishop of Rochester's household. Her punishment? She was publicly boiled to death. They erected a large cauldron in Smithfield Market, filled it with water, and built a fire underneath. Margaret was stripped and chained as the water climbed from uncomfortable to unsurvivable. Eyewitness accounts describe how her skin blistered and peeled away, floating to the surface, how her screams turned to gurgles. The process took 2 hours. King Henry VIII approved this method because he believed the punishment should mirror the crime. Poison was a coward's weapon, a betrayer's tool, deserving a public agonizing death. The Greyfriars Chronicle noted thousands attended these boilings in horrified fascination. Between 1531 and 1547, at least 17 people were boiled alive under English law. One victim, a cook named John Roos, took over 3 hours because they kept the fire low to prolong suffering. It's medieval. Let the punishment fit the crime, taken to an extreme that makes modern justice look civilized. The spy's fate drawn and quartered. When Sir Thomas Armstrong was caught spying for rival nobles in 1684, he faced the most infamous punishment, being drawn and quartered. First, you're dragged through the streets tied behind a horse. Every cobblestone bruises. Every bump breaks something. You arrive already half destroyed. Then they hang you, but not long enough to kill you. Just long enough to make you wish they had. While you're still conscious, they cut you down and make a vertical incision from sternum to pelvis. Then they reach inside and pull out your intestines while you watch. They might even show them to you. They'd throw your insides into a fire right in front of you before finally beheading you. But that's not the end. They'd quarter your corpse and display those pieces on spikes at different locations. Your head on London Bridge, your limbs scattered as a warning. The most famous case was Sir William Wallace in 1305, who reportedly remained conscious almost until the final beheading. His crime? Fighting for Scottish independence. His punishment? Becoming the poster child for "Don't Betray the King." The false advisor, the Iron Maiden. There's historical debate about whether the Iron Maiden was widely used, but enough documented cases exist to know it wasn't just myth. When Chancellor Pierre de Breze was accused of treason in the 1450s, contemporary accounts mention an iron torture device matching the description. Picture a hollow metal statue shaped like a woman, lined with spikes inside. The victim is locked in, and depending on the version, spikes either pierce non-fatal areas, eyes, limbs, organs, ensuring you bleed slowly while conscious in pitch-black darkness, or longer spikes pierce vital organs immediately. But here's the true horror. Some Iron Maidens had hollow spikes. Tubes ran from these spikes to the outside, allowing spectators to watch the blood drain. It turned execution into performance art. The suffering wasn't just punishment, it was entertainment. The device from Nuremberg Castle shows bloodstains and scratch marks on the interior door where victims tried desperately to prevent it from closing. Imagine seeing those spikes getting closer, knowing exactly what's about to happen, unable to do anything but scream into darkness. Betray your lord with bad advice, and your body becomes a warning with artistic flair. The plotting Duchess, the Catherine Wheel. When Isabella of Angoulême was accused of conspiring to overthrow King Henry III in 1246, she faced breaking on the wheel, also called the Catherine Wheel. You're tied spread eagle to a large wooden wheel, face up. An executioner with an iron bar methodically breaks every major bone in your body, starting with fingers and toes, working up to arms and legs, then ribs. Each break is clean and agonizing. The crack echoes. The crowd counts. But they don't break your spine or skull. Those would be too quick. After every limb is shattered, they weave your broken body through the wheel's spokes and hoist it up on a pole. You're displayed like a pretzel of pulverized bones, left to die from exposure and internal bleeding over hours or days. Birds would often arrive before death, pecking at eyes and wounds, and you couldn't move because every bone was splinters. The Grandes Chroniques recorded victims living up to 2 days, their broken bodies slowly succumbing to dehydration while displayed above the town square. The threat of the wheel alone caused several conspirators to confess immediately. It's medieval deterrence. Make betrayal so unthinkably horrible that even contemplating it becomes impossible. The ultimate betrayal, the Judas cradle. Let's end with the most psychologically torturous device, the Judas cradle. Named after history's most famous betrayer, this pyramid-shaped device sat in castle dungeons for those accused of plotting to kill their lord. The victim was suspended above the pyramid point by ropes, hands tied behind their back. Then they were slowly lowered onto the point, positioned to penetrate the most sensitive body areas. The weight of your own body became the torture. Gravity did the work. They didn't just drop you, they'd lower you inch by agonizing inch, sometimes over days. The point would gradually pierce deeper, causing massive internal damage and shock. If you passed out, they'd pour cold water on you to wake you up. Austrian historian Franz Schmidt documented 361 executions in Nuremberg and described the Judas cradle as the punishment that made the strongest men weep before torture even began. The psychological horror of watching yourself be lowered onto it often broke people's minds before their bodies. Sometimes they'd add weights to your ankles if the victim had powerful friends who paid for a quicker death. Medieval mercy meant extra pounds, so you'd only suffer for hours instead of days. So the next time someone stabs you in the back, by forwarding your email, be grateful you didn't live in an era where actual backstabbing resulted in being walled up alive, boiled like dinner, or slowly impaled on a pyramid. Medieval castles weren't just fortresses, They were theaters of suffering, where betrayal transformed bodies into cautionary tales written in blood. These punishments weren't about justice. They were about power and fear, making betrayal so terrifying that loyalty became the only choice. Which punishment shocked you most? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you can stomach more historical nightmares, subscribe. We're just getting started. Next time, we're exploring real torture devices hidden in castle dungeons that Hollywood got wrong. Until then, appreciate that the worst thing your house threatens you with is a broken garbage disposal and not a Judas cradle.